Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to the show. This is part two. The first part of this episode, I've broken it down into two parts. It's all about how to structure an evergreen group. The first part was our previous episode, okay? So you're not going to have to go in search of it. Just go back to the previous episode and you will find it. And in that first episode, I covered, what is an evergreen group and why you should want to do an evergreen group as opposed to a cohort. And just to give you a little recap, the main reasons that I recommend an evergreen group over a cohort is an evergreen group allows your students to enroll anytime, which means that you can utilize evergreen sales and marketing. So you can build an evergreen sales funnel and not ever have that scenario where somebody comes through the sales funnel, makes an investment, and then you have to say, oh, sorry, the program doesn't start for another 8 weeks. Yeah, come back in 3 months. That's when it starts. Like, no student wants to have that. They're excited. They've made the investment. They want to enroll. And so having an evergreen group that is always open means that you can utilize an evergreen funnel, and we can then build out sales systems, sales processes, content, traffic drivers that bring in brand new people, nurture them through your funnel, through your customer journey, and then create a brand new student for you without you having to hustle on 24/7. I know that so many of you want to do that. It's one of the biggest questions I get, which is, I want to grow my business, Rachel. I want to scale. I want to stack my income. I want to build my monthly recurring, but I'm exhausted, right? And the way to get out of that is with group coaching done evergreen style, not launch style, not cohort style, okay? So the first 3 points I covered in the last episode, I'm just going to check my notes so that I give you the exact titles that I gave you. So tip 1 was to start with a signature framework. So your signature methodology to underpin the program promise. Tip 2 was to create on-demand core content. So what that means is to create a really lovely welcome process, right? This is all part of your onboarding, but that core course content is a curriculum that people can access the minute that they enroll. So it's like a welcome module, an onboarding module, like an orientation, yeah, like a walkthrough of your course framework. So you can't just say, oh, you're here to achieve da 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 da, whatever the result is. You need to walk them through how. So I would have a video that says, what to expect now you're here inside the program. I would have a video that says, here's the framework that we're going to be working through. Yeah, inside my mastermind, well, I've got 3 evergreen groups. I've got my Millionaire Mastermind, my Infinite Abundance Mastermind, and I've got my Infinite Abundance Collective, which is my sales accelerator. All 3 of those programs are evergreen, meaning that students can enroll anytime. The onboarding is automated, the welcome sequence is automated, and there are videos in every single one of them that walk them through the success frameworks, yeah, the methodology. So create on-demand core content that people can access the minute that they join. And then tip 3 was add live coaching touch points. And we talked about why you wouldn't want to necessarily have a weekly call. I recommend bi-weekly, or at least do 3 calls in the month and have 1 week of implementation. So now we are on tip 4. I might have covered this briefly at the end of the last episode, but I'm gonna pick it up from this point. So you will end up with 7 of my best tips and recommendations for building out your evergreen group. Okay, so tip 4, build community and peer support. So I talked in the last episode about the real value of community, the value of network. But when you are hosting a group coaching program, you want to recognize the fact that yes, you are the mentor, you are the host, you are the leader of the group, but you are not the only person with knowledge, right? You are not the only person that your students can learn from. They should be encouraged to ask each other questions. And there's a few ways that you could do this, right? So you could encourage them to go into breakout rooms in your, if you host your calls on Zoom, Zoom has the functionality to host breakout rooms. So you could do that for accountability. Yeah, you could have a call for accountability. You could have a call for visioning, a call for journaling, where you put people into breakout rooms, give them an exercise to go into that breakout room with, a conversation starter, and then pull them back into the main room and then encourage some sharing from there. Because if you've got like 12, 15, 20, 25 people in your group, you can't always have a great conversation with 25 people because only one person can talk at a time, right? And you want everybody to feel heard. You want everybody to feel that they've been able to share. And so the best way to do that is inside breakout rooms. So you as the coach, you pose a question and then you send people off into their breakout rooms to discuss and share with each other. And then you bring them back and encourage the wider discussion. Now, what's going to happen when they go off in their breakout rooms is they're going to start confiding in each other. They're going to start really getting to know each other. They're going to start recognizing that they're having similar challenges. And they are most likely, and this has happened for me in every group program that I've ever been in, they're most likely going to exchange numbers or, arrange to have their own separate call. They may even want to, I've done this again with girls I've been in masterminds with, go off on their own little mini break. I've been off on a few weekend trips away with girlies where we've said, let's just go and mastermind for each other's businesses. And it's been great fun. And I've made some lifelong friends doing it. So don't assume that just because it's your group that you are the only person that they can learn from. They can learn from each other. They can hold each other accountable. They can have shared challenges, shared goals. Yeah, really lean on each other, confide in each other, okay? So encourage that in calls that you have, but also you might want to encourage it in your Slack channel, for example. You might want to have one Slack thread that is purely just for peer communication, that you don't even dive into that one. It's just for them to share with each other. You might want to have a Telegram group that is just for them to share, or you might just encourage them to set it up between them. Up to you, okay? The other thing that you could do to encourage this peer-to-peer support is have conversation threads. So if you've got a Facebook community, a Slack, a Telegram, you might want to have like a Monday morning ritual. You might want to have, Friday wins. You might want to have midweek challenges, but have some conversation starters to really get people chatting. And what that's going to do is it's going to stop the group feeling like it's like the desert, like you don't want a group with tumbleweed because nobody feels comfortable to share in a group where there's nothing happening, right? You want to get some conversation going. So those little rituals can really help to do that. And then just finally, before I come to point 5, just remember that you're there to help them get their outcome. So anything that you can do that will accelerate that is got to be a good thing, right? It's going to mean that your clients get better results, meaning that you build a stronger reputation and get better client testimonials. So don't ever, and I have had a client quite recently talk to me about this. Don't ever think that if somebody's breakthrough came as a result of speaking to one of the other girls in your mastermind or group coaching program, that is a bad reflection on you, that, oh, I've got to do all the breakthroughs, I've got to be responsible for all the wins. You haven't, right? You haven't. And the more secure you get with yourself as a coach, the more validated you feel, the more secure you are, in your own self-belief that you are good at what you do, that you are valued, the better you will feel about people having breakthroughs that you had nothing to do with. Yeah, it's your program. So of course they've got that breakthrough as a result of an environment that you have curated, of relationships that you have facilitated. Yeah, but don't ever take it to heart that, oh no, they got their win as a result of a conversation with somebody else, because that doesn't matter. That's actually like lack, like that's a lack mindset speaking if you are worried about that. So if you have got that going on, make sure that you overcome that as fast as you can. Okay, let's move on to tip 5. Tip 5 is have a smooth onboarding process. And the more automated it is, the smoother it is, okay? So some of the things that we do, We have an automated welcome email, which our system facilitates for us. We have automated access into the portal. So in the email, it's like click here and you'll go straight into the learning portal. We have automated contracts as well. Yeah. So check with your own lawyer, but because obviously I'm not a lawyer, so this is not legal advice. Yeah. But the way that we do things is that we've created one master contract with all of the key terms and conditions, and that gets emailed out to people. Now, if for any reason you had to go to court with somebody, yeah, that contract is still legally binding, because as long as you can evidence that it was sent at the point of sign up on X date at X time, then it is legally binding. Okay, so you could have automated contracts. The only time I would say don't have automated contracts would be when there's a lot of personalization needed. So if the contract needs to be adapted for a very personal agreement that you've made with somebody, then obviously you might need to get your VA to adapt that contract. But yeah, you can have automated contracts. You just need to be able to prove that that contract was issued at the time of purchase. Okay. Something else to think about would be, and I kind of already mentioned this a little bit, as part of your onboarding process, you want to have like a start here module or a checklist, a fast start checklist. I have an email that goes out 2 days after sign up with some journal prompts, and I say journal on these questions, and if you would like to share the answers with me, I'm here to receive them. The more I understand you as your coach, the better I can support you. And most of the girls do fill out those journal questions and they send them across to me, and it really helps me to provide a better experience when we get onto our first one-to-one, which everyone who joins my program gets a one-to-one at the beginning for us to map out their strategy. So of course, if they've done those journal questions 2 days after sign up and they've sent them to me, that means I understand them even more. So our strategy session is just that little bit better. So yeah, a quick start guide or like a roadmap or a checklist of things that you want them to do now that they're enrolled. And we've talked about the orientation video, which is like a pre-recorded welcome video. Okay, so that is step 5 for your Evergreen group. I guess the real difference with that versus a cohort is if I was teaching you how to run a cohort, then I would probably teach you to have like a welcome party. So if, let's say, your first cohort week is Wednesday night at 7, I would say the previous Wednesday, or maybe even the Sunday night or the Monday, have a welcome party so that you can do the introductions, you can do the coaching framework overview, you can put them in breakout rooms, get them to all get to know each other. If we were sat here talking about cohort best practice, then I would say have a welcome party. But you, of course, can't have a welcome party when it's an Evergreen group because they're coming in at different days and times. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Tip number 6 for your Evergreen group. Oh, this is a juicy one. This is a question I get all the time. It's about pricing, right? It's about how to set the pricing for your group program. Lots of people say to me, Rachel, I just want the pay in fulls. I just want people to pay in full so that I know that they're fully committed, they're all in. And that is fine, right? If you want to do pay in full only for your group program, that is absolutely fine. It's your business, right? It's your group. You can decide to do it however you want to do it. But what I would say through experience is if you only offer pay in full as an option for your group, you will miss out on students, okay? Especially with an Evergreen group, because typically an Evergreen group is 6 months or 12 months. And so for somebody to spend the investment of 6 months or 12 months worth of monthly payments in one go, I'm not saying it's impossible. I've done it. Yeah, I have done it a number of times. Even when it got, to multiple 5 figures, I still made a pay in full investment. But for you to expect that everybody to come to work with you does that, it's not going to happen, right? So if you only want pay in full, then only do pay in full, only offer pay in full, but that will limit some people. Now, at checkout, you've got things like Klarna, right? So if you've not heard of Klarna, it's a way for you to get paid in full, but for them to have a payment plan. So Klarna sort of takes on the debt, if you like, and instead of paying you in monthly installments, your student would pay Klarna in monthly installments. So we've got that at our checkout now. So that is one option. But what we tend to do is we just offer payment plans. Okay, we offer payment plans. Now, this bit of advice is really, really important. Do not ever be tempted to offer a payment plan that rolls on past the date of the program. So what I mean by that is, if somebody joins your program for 6 months, don't give them a 9-month payment plan. Or even worse, 12, right? Don't do that. And I'm saying this from experience. I've been there, I've done it. And whilst at the time it feels like you're making the investment possible for people, you're being the most helpful that you could be to help them get into the program, you actually end up shooting yourself in the foot, because when that 6-month program finishes, there's a very good chance, because you're good at your job, that what will happen to me will happen to you. So these ladies who had an extended payment plan, they got to the end of their 6 months and they didn't want to leave, but they were on a 9-month payment plan. So when I said to them, your time in the program is almost up, do you want to stay? They were like, yeah, of course I want to stay. I definitely don't want to leave. But they still had 3 months of payment plans to pay for their first 6 months. So for them to stay in the program meant that they would then have 2 payment plans running, which, you know, in my programs, my promise to them is that they will make more money. So it's less of a problem for me, because we can obviously talk about the fact that they're earning more than they were before, and that whilst in their head they might have a bit of a block around the fact that it's 2 payment plans, we consolidate the payment plans and we go again, right? And it was just a little bit of an admin headache to consolidate those payment plans, make one plan and move forward. But if you are in an industry where your program promise isn't to help somebody make money, you're going to find it even more difficult to make a recommendation about them having 2 payment plans or to consolidate those payment plans, okay? So don't get tempted to have an extended payment plan, because it's, in the long run, it's not going to help you, right? Because what it's actually going to mean is people that want to stay will end up leaving, and you don't want that, okay? So that's one thing to note on payment plans. The second thing to note on payment plans is that the cost of your total payment plan, all added up together, should be 10 to 20% more than the pay in full. Okay, and I know I've talked about this in a previous episode with you, but I'm going to say it again because I know that we've got new listeners. The total amount, let's use a 6-month program example again. Let's just say, for easy maths, your 6-month program is £1,000 a month. Yeah, the pay in full shouldn't be 6,000. It shouldn't be the total amount of all the monthly payments added up together. You should be offering a discount for pay in full. Why? Because it is an incentive for people to pay you in full, and also because the cost of you managing their payment plan will probably be that you will have members of your team that will be logging into Stripe, logging into PayPal, checking that the payments have gone through, communicating with the client in the instance where, you know, there's maybe been a change of card number. You know, like, people's credit cards, debit cards, they often expire, right? They're all built to expire. And so if they expire partway through your payment plan, then you've got admin to do. Somebody's got to reach out to them and say, hey babe, your payment hasn't gone through. Which obviously, you know, you don't want to be talking to your clients about money partway through their transformation. You want the money to all be dealt with. So you'll probably do what I do and get team in to do it. But you're still then having to invest in team costs to help manage the fact that their credit card has expired. So You cannot, unless you are finance regulated, yeah? So the FCA, and if you're in the UK, it's the FCA. If you're in another country, I don't know what your finance regulator is called, but you cannot, unless you are financially regulated, which I am not, you are not, unless you're a finance company, unless you are finance regulated, you cannot be seen to be offering finance. Okay? I do not offer my clients finance. What I do offer is a discount for pay in full. So in that example I gave you of £1,000 a month for 6 months, I would say it's £1,000 a month investment to join the program, but if you pay in full, you get a discount from 6,000 down to 5,000. So there is a pay in full incentive of £1,000. Yeah? Now, what that means is you are not ever going to be seen as being somebody who's offering finance. You are merely offering a pay in full incentive. Please tell me that you see the difference, okay? This is a really big difference and it's really important. I don't want you to ever get caught out with somebody saying, well, you're not a finance company, like you shouldn't be charging extra for finance. You're not making a £5,000 program cost £6,000 because of the finance. That's not what you're doing. You're saying it's a £6,000 program and you're offering £1,000 saving. Okay, really important distinction. I hope I've explained that well enough. That's often easier for me to explain on a slide, but of course we haven't got slides while we're here together. So yeah, offer payment plans. Don't offer extended payment plans. Think about Klarna at the checkout, and you may have some other options on your checkout depending on what system you're on, and think about that financial regulation thing. Yeah, think about that. And then that brings me on to point 7. This is the final point. So that will be our 2 episodes about how to structure an evergreen program complete. The final point is to optimize your program for scalability. Okay. Now, right back at the beginning of our first episode on this, I talked to you about evergreen groups being the best way to scale. Evergreen group programs are the best way for you as a coach, as a mentor, even as a service provider to scale your income without scaling your time. Yeah, you will make more money. You will leverage your time. You will be still able to get amazing transformations for your clients without having to be on loads of one-on-one calls, without trying to fit into your calendar lots of cohort programs, and without getting stuck on the launch roller coaster, right? So I made the point very loud and clear at the beginning of our first episode that evergreen groups, the number one benefit of evergreen groups is they're scalable. Now, if you've got an evergreen group or you're planning an evergreen group and you're saying things to yourself like, oh, well, I only ever want to have 12 people in it, or I could never go beyond 20 people because I wouldn't be able to coach that many people. I could never have that many people on a Zoom call with me. If you're saying those things to yourself, then your group is not scalable. Because if it was truly, truly scalable, the structure of your group would be able to support 50 clients, 70 clients, 100 clients. Yeah, the structure of your group would be able to support unlimited amounts of clients. If you've really built it, with automation, with core content that's pre-recorded, if you've really built it to be scalable, then it doesn't matter how many people enroll. You could have a sales funnel that brings you 5 new clients a week. And as long as you've got automated onboarding and smooth T's and C's going out, your contracts are done, your welcome video is done, your orientation is done, you're sending out your journal prompts, you're inviting them into the first call, they're seamlessly being sent the details for the Zoom call to join your Slack group, all of that stuff. If me saying this to you now, if you're sat there thinking, I could never have 5 people a week come join my program, my business would collapse. I'd freak out. I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to host the calls. Then your group is not truly scalable, right? And so if that is what you're thinking, what should you do? Well, the key thing for me is about what the ratio is of how many people on a call do you want. And this will depend on how sensitive the subject matter is that you're talking about, how how personal people get. If you want to run a 60-minute call and you want everybody to have the chance to ask a question and be supported with a response from you, then you need to think about how much time do I want to give my students on that 60-minute call. So again, let's do easy maths. Let's say everybody got 10 minutes of your time. Well, that means you can only ever have 6 people on a Zoom call. If you want to give everybody 5 minutes each, that means you can have 12 people on a Zoom call. If you had 60 people in your program, you can only give them a minute each. Now, somewhere in those numbers, there is a feel-good point for you. Which number feels good? How many minutes per person on average do you want to give? So if when I said 10 minutes per person, you were like, oh yeah, that would be amazing, right? Then you can only ever have 6 on a Zoom. If when I said 5 minutes per person, you were like, yeah, that feels really good to me. I can usually, go around the room, ask a question, draw people's questions back in and then give them a suitable response. If that feels good, then 12 is your number. If when I said 1 minute per person, you were like, absolutely not, no way, that's never going to happen. I can't do a minute per client. That's just not fair. They're investing good money in that. I've got to give them more than a minute. Then obviously you can't have 60 people in the program unless once you know where that sweet spot is, let's say, just again for easy maths, let's say you realize that you only want to ever have 10 people per Zoom call, but the thought of having 60 people in your program is pretty attractive. Well, then what that means is I couldn't even get my words out. What that means is if you know you only ever want to see 10 faces looking back at you on every Zoom, but you want 60 in the program for scaling your income, you're going to need to put on 6 calls. You're going to need to have a Monday at 10, a Monday at 2, a Tuesday at 9, a Thursday at 5. You're going to need to pick 6 time slots and either put people into groups and say, this is your time slot, this is your time slot, or you just say you can only come to one of these 6 calls. Each week, pick your best time slot. And obviously it won't always work out that it's even, but you will be there or thereabouts with your 10 per call, okay? This is my best advice for scalability because you want the program to be scalable. You want to be able to enroll infinite numbers of students, but you also don't want to feel that you're coming off calls thinking, oh my God, there was 5 people that didn't even get to ask me anything because we ran out of time. You don't want to feel that way. And you certainly don't want your students to feel that way. You don't want them leaving a call thinking, she didn't even get to me. I've now got to ask my question in Slack. I didn't want to ask my question in Slack. I wanted Rachel's advice live on the call. Now, I know how annoying that is because I've been in a mastermind where that was the case. And I felt the frustration myself and I've seen other girls really frustrated. I'll tell you what happened when I was in a program where that was happening. I won't say frequently, but it was happening fairly regularly, is that after the call finished, I would have a number of those girls that were also in the program, my mastermind sisters, would message me their question. Knowing that I'm a business mentor, and they were, in different industries, different niches, but they wanted business advice, they would come and ask me for my advice and I would give it to them. And what's happened since then is those ladies have come in and enrolled in my program. So they're not in my mentor's program or my mentor at the time. They're not in that program anymore because they weren't being supported. They weren't being, given any sharing time on calls because there was too many people in there. It wasn't scalable. Yeah, it wasn't being managed in a way that meant that they got supported. So they came to the next best place, which was me. And although I didn't pitch my offer to them, I wouldn't have done that. When they said, can I come work with you? Well, I'm not going to say no, you know? And I even had a chat to my mentor about that happening. And she was like, yeah, great. If they want to come work with you, that's brilliant. That's part of being in a group that you get to collaborate and work with new people. So that's how it worked for me, and that's how I can speak with such certainty about what makes a program truly scalable and what doesn't. And of course, what you would need to do to fix it. You would just need to put multiple calls on. You would just need to make sure that there was enough self-study material that people, when they came to you with a challenge, you could signpost them to something, right? So, oh, somebody's calling me. Let's say you're on a call, you've got 10 faces looking back at you, and somebody asks a really detailed question. If you've built a scalable curriculum, you will be able to say, this is my answer, and I want to signpost you to this resource. I want to give you an example of what that, for example, email sequence could look like. You know, I'm giving you access to my 10-part email sequence in our portal. Go and have a look at that. That's going to give you everything that you need. So the more that you build out your portal, the more that you structure your curriculum to support all of the women with all of the questions, the better you will be able to navigate those live coaching calls and signpost people to resources and templates and things that are really going to support them. Okay, now that's one of the benefits of you coming to work with me inside my mastermind or my sales accelerator, is that I've been running these programs now for over 2 years. So our curriculum is very built out. Our portal is packed with examples. You know, I give you examples of my sales pages. I give you examples of my email sequences. I give you so many examples for content, Canva templates, caption templates, story sequences, hooks, call to actions, how to handle sales objections. There are so many resources in there that when I get a question, it's really easy for me to say to the girls, actually, there's a resource that you should definitely go and grab. Yeah, so I'll give them my support live and signpost them to something that will support them in a self-study way. Okay, so if you want to know more about coming to work with me, if you feel like now that you've listened to these 2 episodes and you feel like, Rach, I really would love to have you by my side for when I, enroll my Evergreen group, for when I structure my Evergreen group. I want your eyes on my Evergreen group strategy. I want you to help me build out my Evergreen sales plan. Then I have opened up a few spots in my diary for a call that is usually £597. It's called a personal sell out and scale up strategy call. Like I say, it's normally £597. I've opened up a few spots in my calendar, had a chat with my team and said, can you open up? I think there's about 4, maybe 5 spots available. There is a link for you to book it where you get straight into my calendar. I'll put the link below this episode for you. If when you click on it, all the spots are gone, I'm sorry to say you were too slow. But that doesn't mean that you'll never be able to get one of these calls, okay? Because that doesn't sit right with me. If I'm going to invite you to book this call, then I'm inviting you to book the call. Just because my calendar cannot support you right at this second, then, that doesn't mean I want to take that invitation away from you. So if you click the link and there's calendar spots, grab one. If you click the link and there are no calendar spots, then there will be an email address there, and I want you to email me and say, Rach, I want to book a call with you. I think I might want to come and join the mastermind, or I think I want to get your eyes on my Evergreen sales plan. Can I book a call? Can you tell me when the next availability is? And then me or my team will come and support you, and we will get you booked in somehow, okay? There are days in the week where I don't do any calls. So if you cannot find a time just for you, I'm happy to open up a little bit more time in my diary, okay? But if you don't message me, I won't know that that's even a problem. So click the link below, book yourself a sell out and scale up personal one-to-one call. They are 30 minutes long. There are about 10 questions for you to answer before you get to book it. and I want you to be detailed. I want you to be really specific, really detailed in the way that you fill out that call booking link. Because if you're not detailed, then I'm going to have to waste our 30 minutes together asking you loads of questions. Whereas if you fill out all the detail in the questions, I will know enough to be able to dive straight in and support you with a plan. Okay, so there's an invitation for you. I don't normally open up spots in my diary in this way, and I don't think I've ever done it before on the podcast either. So if you want to grab one of those calls, be quick. Let's dive in. Let's build your evergreen group. And if we're a good fit for you to come and work with me inside one of my group programs so that you can see how evergreen onboarding works and get my support to break through to your next income level, then I would absolutely love that. Okay, so thank you for listening to this second part of the show. If you missed the first part, I definitely recommend you circle back and go and listen to points 1 to 3. And if you know somebody who is wanting to develop their own evergreen group, please do share this podcast with them, share the YouTube channel with them. Make sure that the message is getting out there far and wide, because I want to be able to help as many women as possible to get off that launch roller coaster and build a scalable evergreen group. So thank you for being here. I will see you next week.